Everyone says dogs are man's best friend, but no one ever tells you why. They don't just guard your home, they guard the space between your world and something else. If you ever wondered why dogs bark at corners, growl at empty hallways, or stare into the dark, here are 10 reasons you should always keep one close. Because when your dog leaves, something else moves in. Reason 1. The things only they see. Dogs see what we can't. When your dog suddenly stops, lifts its head, and growls at a wall, don't call its name. Don't even move. Because whatever it sees, it's already watching you too. And if you follow your dog's eyes long enough, you might notice the shapeshift, tall, thin, still, standing just behind the curtain. Reason 2. The scratching at night. If you hear scratching under your bed or behind the walls, never assume it's mice. Dogs scratch back. They're warning whatever's inside to stay hidden. But if your dog suddenly stops scratching, that means it's no longer outside the wall. It's in the room with you. Reason 3. The door they guard. Every dog picks one spot in the house, one door, one hallway, one shadow they refuse to leave. That's not random. That's the place it comes through. If your dog sleeps facing the same door every night, don't move it, because that door isn't just to another room, it's to somewhere darker. And your dog knows if it looks away too long, it'll open. Reason 4. When they growl in their sleep. Ever notice how dogs twitch and growl while dreaming? They're not chasing rabbits, they're fighting. Every night while you sleep, they cross the threshold you can't see, keeping the thing on the other side from slipping through. So next time your dog's eyes flicker under its lids and it growls softly, don't wake it up, because if you do, that thing it was holding back won't stop at the door. Reason 5. The mirror reaction. Try this once. Let your dog stand in front of a mirror. Watch its reflection closely. Sometimes your dog will look calm, but the reflection won't. It'll turn its head first. It'll look at you before the real dog does. And when that happens, take your dog out of that room immediately. Because that mirror isn't showing reflection. It's showing a window. Reason 6. The 3 a.m. routine. If your dog ever leaves your room at exactly 3 a.m., don't follow it, no matter what sound you hear. Because from 3 o'clock to 3:15, the world turns thin. The veil flickers. And during that time, your dog isn't protecting your house, it's walking the border to make sure nothing crosses in. But if it doesn't come back before 3:16, lock your door. Because the one scratching to come back in might not be your dog anymore. Reason 7. The empty collar. Dogs have a strange habit. Sometimes when they die, their collar moves. You'll find it on the floor or hanging from a doorknob. If that happens, don't touch it, because the collar is the last thing keeping their spirit tethered to you, and if you remove it before midnight, something else will wear it. You'll still hear the jingle in the hallway. You'll still hear the pause at your door, but you'll know it's not the same. Reason 8. When they refuse to eat a dog. Refusing to eat isn't always sick. Sometimes they smell something you can't, something that doesn't belong here. If they back away from their bowl, tail low, growling softly, check your reflection. Make sure it moves with you, because when a presence lingers too long, dogs lose appetite, not from fear, but because the thing already started feeding. Reason 9. The footsteps in sync. Ever hear your dog's footsteps behind you, but when you turn, they're asleep on the couch? That's because every dog has a shadow version, a silent twin that follows you when your real one rests. If you ever hear those phantom paws at midnight, say your dog's name. If the sound stops, you're safe. If it keeps going, don't look back. Reason 10. When they smile. If your dog ever smiles at you, really smiles, run. Because dogs don't smile like humans, and when they do, it means they've seen something that took their shape. If you ever wake up and your dog is standing by your bed, teeth showing, eyes wide, tail still, don't speak. Don't blink. Just whisper its name. If it tilts its head, it's safe. If it smiles wider, then that's not your dog. So now you know, dogs don't just protect us from burglars, from loneliness, or from the dark. They protect us from what's inside it. So when people say dogs are man's best friend, believe them. Because they're not just your friend, they're your barrier. And if you ever hear one barking in the distance tonight, don't tell it to stop. Something out there is still trying to get in. I've lived in Mill Creek, a small American town tucked between pine woods and forgotten highways, my whole life. Nothing really changes here. Same old diner, same quiet nights, same sense that time's been standing still for decades. Until last winter. That was when the dog showed up. At first, I thought it was a stray, a big black shepherd mix with matted fur and pale, almost human eyes. I first saw it outside the gas station on Route 6. It was raining hard that night, the kind of rain that soaks you to the bone. I remember slowing down because something about the way it sat there, perfectly still, didn't feel right. Its head was tilted slightly, like it was waiting. Its eyes followed my car as I passed, and for a split second I swear I saw its mouth move, not in a growl, but like it was murmuring something. That night, when I got home, I saw it again. Sitting by my mailbox, same position, same dripping fur. But I live 5 miles from that gas station. I should have called animal control, but something in me said don't. Instead, I just watched it from the window. The rain fell harder, and the dog didn't move. It didn't even blink. The next morning, it was gone. Just wet paw prints leading into the woods behind my house. And on my porch, a bone. It wasn't a normal bone. Too long, too thin. When I touched it, the air went cold. Over the next few nights, I started hearing scratching at the door. Slow, deliberate. 3 scratches. Pause. 3 more. It always came at exactly 12:03 a.m. Every night. I thought maybe it was raccoons or something, until I looked out one night and saw it. The dog. Sitting there again. This time it had something in its mouth. A torn piece of fabric. When I squinted, I realized it was part of a jacket. The same jacket my brother used to wear. My brother Eli disappeared a year ago in those same woods. The sheriff said he must have gotten lost hunting, but no body was ever found. I stepped outside that night. My breath came out like smoke. The dog just stared at me. Then it dropped the fabric on the porch, stood up, and slowly walked toward the woods. It stopped halfway, turned its head, and looked back at me, like it wanted me to follow, and God help me. I did. The woods behind my house are older than the town itself. Locals say they used to be burial grounds for something before Mill Creek existed. You can feel it when you walk deep enough. The air feels heavier, like it's watching you back. The dog led me through the fog, paws silent on the dirt. Then it stopped near a clearing, a small circle of stones and half-buried crosses. In the center was a hole, freshly dug. When I looked down, I saw Eli's name tag from his jacket. Right beside it, something moved. I knelt closer, and the hole breathed. Something exhaled from inside, a deep, wet rasp. The dog backed away slowly, ears low, growling at the hole. Then it looked at me again, and whispered. Yes, whispered. My name. I ran. I didn't look back until I reached the edge of the woods. When I did, the dog was gone, but my porch light was on, and there was a silhouette standing by my door. Not the dog. Eli. He was drenched, covered in dirt, and smiling too wide. When I blinked, he was gone. Only the sound of a dog panting came from behind the door, slow, rhythmic, and then the whisper again, "Don't let it in." The next morning, I called the sheriff. He found nothing in the woods, no bones, no hole, no footprints. But that night, it came again. 12:03 a.m., 3 scratches, pause, 3 more. Only this time the voice was different. Not the dog, not Eli. It was me. "Let me in. It's cold." I moved out of Mill Creek 2 weeks later. I left everything behind, my house, my car, my job. But even now, some nights when it rains, I swear I can still hear the scratching. Sometimes I even check the window. And every time, there's a shape in the dark, a black dog, waiting. Don't follow the dog. It doesn't lead you home. It leads you back. It started with an email. Evan almost deleted it. He thought it was spam. The subject line only said, "Night enrollment, attendance required." No sender name, no logo, just a time. 11:45 p.m., room 104. Evan thought it was some kind of prank. His school was old. Half the lights didn't even work after dark. But curiosity, that's the problem with quiet towns. When nothing happens for too long, anything unusual feels worth chasing. So, that night, he went. The school at midnight didn't look like the same place he walked into every morning. The windows were black mirrors, the air stale, like it hadn't moved in years. But down the main hall, room 104, glowed with a faint yellow light. He could hear something before he reached it, not voices, but a low hum, like electricity or whispering. When he stepped inside, there were 6 other students already sitting at their desks. None of them looked up. They just stared forward, faces pale, unmoving. At the front of the class stood an old man in a faded gray suit, the teacher. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome to night school," he said softly. "Before we begin, you must learn the rules." He pointed to the blackboard, but there was no chalk. The words were scratched into the surface, deep like claw marks. The rules of night school: 1. Never look out the window when you hear your name. 2. Keep your shoes on. The floor remembers footsteps. 3. If the janitor asks for help, don't follow him. 4. When the lights flicker, count to 7 and hold your breath. 5. If a teacher calls roll and says a name twice, someone doesn't belong. 6. Never answer the intercom after 2:33 a.m. 7. When the final bell rings, don't leave until you hear it stop echoing. The teacher turned back to them. Class begins now. The next hour felt wrong. There were no lessons, only silence. The teacher stood motionless at his desk while the hum in the walls grew louder. Evan glanced at the clock. The second hand wasn't moving. He tried to whisper to the girl sitting beside him. She didn't blink. Her eyes were glossy, reflecting something that wasn't in the room. Then, from outside the window, he heard it. Someone calling his name, whispering it, softly. "Evan." He froze. The first rule hit him like a cold wave. Never look out the window when you hear your name. He tried to ignore it, but the whisper grew clearer, and then angry. The glass began to fog up from the outside, a handprint pressing against it. The teacher finally moved. "Eyes forward," he said calmly. And for the first time, the hum stopped. At 1:15 a.m., the janitor appeared at the classroom door. Keys jingling, eyes dark as soot. He smiled at Evan. "Need a hand with something, kid?" Evan remembered Rule 3. He shook his head. The janitor smiled wider and walked away. But when Evan turned back to his desk, the seat beside him was empty. The girl who'd been sitting there was gone. Only her shoes remained, perfectly placed under the desk. The second rule whispered through his head, "Keep your shoes on." The floor remembers footsteps. By 2:30 a.m., Evan couldn't take it anymore. The walls felt closer now, the air heavier, and that hum, it wasn't in the walls anymore, it was coming from under the floor. Then the intercom crackled to life. "Students," a distorted voice said, "this is Principal Hale. Everyone report to the gymnasium." Immediately, the teacher didn't move. No one did. Evan stared at the clock. 2:33 a.m. Rule 6. Never answer the intercom after 2:33 a.m. He stayed still, but one of the students stood up, a tall boy in a red jacket, and walked out into the hall. The second the door closed behind him, the humming stopped. Then came a single short scream, and the hum returned, louder than before. Evan didn't remember falling asleep, but he woke to silence. The clock said 5:57 a.m. Sunlight poured faintly through the cracked blinds. The teacher was gone. The students, too. He ran for the exit, shoes squeaking against the waxed floor. The front doors were wide open, and as he stepped outside, the morning air hit him like a shock. He'd survived, or so he thought. The next day, when he told his friends what happened, they laughed. "Night school?" they said. "Man, that place burned down years ago." Evan stared at them. "No," he said. "It was real. Room 104. But they just shook their heads. "There's no room 104 anymore," one said. "They tore that wing down." That night, Evan went back, just to prove it. But where the hallway once stood was only blackened rubble, and in the middle of it, sitting perfectly upright in the ashes, was a single pair of shoes, his.